Items icon. The Items window consists of 4 tabs. If new items are being added, rather than editing an existing item, the first decision is to decide on the unique item number. Either enter an item number, assuming you know the item structure to use, or click the up arrow next to the New Item Number button. This button steps through the creation process of selecting the appropriate item components based on the structure selected. When the button is clicked, the system displays a window to first enter the structure code. Let's say you want to create a new item using the standard structure. Immediately, the system displays the segments that are required for this type of item to be added. To add this type of item, enter a 2-character category code, a 3-character style code, and a 1-character color code. Either enter the code within the value field here, or use the Finder to locate a code if the segment is based on a validation list. To observe an existing item, such as the desk lamp, the system retrieves the information for the item. This particular item is based on the standard structure code. The field is unavailable because the structure cannot be changed after the item has been added. Next, enter or select the category code. This is the default category the item was defined with. As discussed earlier, categories maintain the sales revenue and cost of goods sold account, among other settings. When the item is sold, the category code can be changed to a different code if desired. Normally, the category code is not changed because it determines how the sales and costs are classified. For example, the database here is a furniture distribution company. This company has decided to classify their items into product types. This way, financial statements can be subtotaled by any of the product types or segments. When entering sales orders, the category may need to be changed if the classification was not a form of item classification, but a form of customer classification. For example, possibly you want to summarize your sales or cost of sales by who is buying which products: retail customers, wholesale customers, or manufacturing customers. You wouldn't know that for financial statement reporting purposes unless you change the category code when the item is shipped. The next field is the account set code. This is the field where the costing method is assigned, as well as the inventory control account. Clicking the Finder button here displays the account set codes that have already been added. Inventory control can track different items using different costing methods, although the costing method is typically not changed once the item is in use. The next field is where the default price list code is assigned. Again, this is only a default. The actual price is determined based on the price list code identified with the customer, but in the event one isn't specified, the one identified here is used as the default. The commodity number field can be used to record a value-added tax identifier, typically used in the UK. However, any code can be entered. Next, enter a default picking sequence number. This is a code that identifies where the item is located within the warehouse. A printed picking slip can include this number, so a warehouse employee does not have to aimlessly wander around the warehouse looking for the item. A unique picking sequence code for each location can be entered. This is the default. The unit weight field is where the weight of the item is entered, using the weight unit of measure defined within the company profile, or the weight unit of measure listed in the next field. The alternate item field is where another item number is assigned that can be used as a replacement of this item number. If the alternate item number entered here also has an alternate item number identified, both items appear as alternates for this item number when being sold. Moving to the right-hand side of the window, if you plan to use Accpac's eBusiness Web Store product, click the Allow Items in Web Store option, so the item can be sold via the Web Store program. The inactive checkbox indicates if further transactions can be performed for this item. where the sellable checkbox indicates if the item is for sale. There may be situations when a particular item is not sold, such as a raw material item that is only used in a bill of material, or possibly an item that is used for internal purposes. The serial number checkbox indicates if the item requests a serial number to be entered upon the item being sold. Inventory control by itself does not track serial numbers internally. You can purchase the serial number or lot tracking modules to handle that process. Deselect the stock item checkbox if the item is a special order item where quantity information is not to be tracked within inventory control. Deselecting the stock item option allows the item to become a kit item. If the item is indicated to be a kit, the item number being added is the master item number that represents a group of other items. Kit items must be assigned to an account set using the user-specified costing method. The lower portion of the window is used to enter any item comments. Up to 300 characters of comments can be entered, of which can be displayed when printing transactions, viewed on reports, or included on printed forms. The Units page defines what units of measure the item can be received and shipped. The fluorescent desk lamp has each assigned as the stocking unit of measure, but the item can be received or shipped as case, a crate, or by the dozen. The conversion factor indicates how many stocking unit of measures will be removed when the item is sold. So, for this item, it takes 24 eaches to make a case. If inventory control was instructed to only use predefined units of measure, one of the IC option settings, then only those unit of measures defined can be entered. Although only selected unit of measures can be defined, the default quantity of that unit of measure can be different. For example, a case may be defined as 12 items for one part number, but 36 items for another part number. The Taxes page identifies the tax authorities that have the tax calculated on the price of the item. The ultimate deciding factor if tax is calculated on a document is determined by the customer and item matrix defined within tax services. However, listing a tax authority here is a way of identifying a tax authority override default based on what the item tax setting would have been. Tax authorities entered within the assigned category appear here automatically. It's important to know that just because a tax authority is not listed, it doesn't mean it will not be calculated. As discussed earlier, the system always defaults to tax class code 1 for any item tax authority. So if a customer is taxable and the item tax class code 1 is identified as taxable, tax will be calculated regardless if it is listed here or not. However, if tax class code 1 for a tax authority is taxable, but this particular item is not taxable for some reason, identify the tax authorities here using the non-taxable tax class code. For example, let's look at the gift card sales item. When you sell a gift card, Accpac has been instructed to utilize tax class code 2 rather than the default of 1. This is because you don't want to calculate tax on the purchase of a gift card. Tax will be calculated when the customer purchases an item using the gift card. The last page is where optional fields are defined for an item, assuming the Transaction Analysis and Optional Fields Creator module is installed. Optional field values can be entered for any optional fields activated for the items function. Optional fields will be discussed in Session 7. Vendor details provide vendor cost and item information that is used when creating purchase orders. Selecting the fluorescent desk lamp, there are currently 2 of the possible 9 vendor details that have been added. Vendor 1 is identified as Vendor 1200, a U.S. purchasing vendor, and Vendor 2 is identified as Vendor 1400, a Canadian purchasing vendor. These vendors apparently are used often when purchasing this item. Going to the right side of the window, the vendor's item number, as well as the default cost associated with this item for this vendor, is visible. Keep in mind that information entered within the vendor details window is only used if both the accounts payable and purchase order modules exist for the database. If both modules are activated, then the purchase order module will use this information when purchase orders are entered for this item vendor combination, or when purchase orders are automatically generated for this item when the item is low in stock. Similar to the vendor details window, which links items often purchased from a vendor, the customer details window provides a list of item numbers that your customers identify to your items. Customer item numbers are particular to the customer and also specify the customer's unit of measure. So different customers can use the same number for different items. For example, here both Bargain Mart and Ronald Black have unique item numbers for this item. By using this feature, invoices can be printed using your customer's item number instead of yours as an additional service.
Please proceed to item prices.